Hey, what is up everybody? Blades for here, and today for you guys another video of Persona 5X. Inside today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about sub DPSs and how they could possibly change the game for P5X as a whole. If you guys are interested in this, be sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. And as always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really does help me out quite a lot here. Coming close to 16K, so the rest of you guys who can help me, the more the better. We're going to be doing some crazy stuff in the future, so look forward to it. But getting straight to the video. So we have a lot going on with P5X with the sub DPS market here, and it's been really apparent, especially with the newest character being announced, being Mitsuru. Now, quite honestly, I didn't think we'd have sub DPS as being a huge deal, especially especially at the beginning and middle of P5X. But apparently this year we've been getting a lot more characters that have been kind of steered to that more often, which did start with the character, of course, Akechi being one of the first sub DPS. As much as this man is loved, unfortunately he's done dirty, and we're going to try and talk about how this can really change some things. But I think the best way we can really do this is kind of explaining exactly what I mean by sub DPS here. And these are characters that not potentially are your main DPS, but are helping you do some of that damage in the background. Now, with this damage that they're able to do, they're also sometimes pulling off different debuffs that could very well help out the team as well. But it is very I want to say just on a supporting role rather than being like the main center of attention. They're always going to be in the background. They're never ever going to be a character that kind of helps out main priorities. So with that already explained here, we can immediately go ahead and check out Akechi. And what better way to check out his kit other than checking out the website called lafel.net here. And if you guys don't use it, be sure to do so. They actually updated a lot. I love the layout of the actual website now. It looks amazing here. But they have everything you need, such as like team builds, everything you really want to see. They most likely got it. But our best way to get started is going to be Crow here. And the main reason is because he was our first DPS, and without a doubt, or at least our first sub DPS, without a doubt, is probably the one that gets the most hate or lackluster side of things. But what he was granted here, it was kind of interesting because Almighty was the first thing to ever be shown, and he was an Almighty AoE damager. A lot of us was like, okay, this could be very, very good, but how would it work for SOS? How would it work for Guild Boss? Because technically Almighty just kind of supersedes a lot of this stuff here and could easily just go past a lot of the current skills that we have inside the game. Well, he was an Almighty user that you could only use that Almighty skill after using his skill 1 or skill 2 and getting a certain amount of stacks to deal just this overall damage. The Almighty set of damage, if you guys don't know exactly what that is, it's just an amount of damage that can't really be blocked unless you're just blocking Almighty damage. No matter what element it is going to be dealing or what element it's going to be hitting, it will always do its damage no matter what happens here. So we thought this was going to be a very good character. Unfortunately, when it came down to his sub DPSing stats, he was very lackluster. It didn't matter if you had the 5-star, it didn't matter if you had the 4-star, it didn't even matter if you had an A6 DPS. Him trying to do what he needed to do was very bad, and that's because what Akechi really superseded at or really enjoyed to do was being able to take that highest amount of his attacker and then actually recording that highest amount of attacker's damage, which was pretty darn awesome. If you were able to record their total damage and then use a percentage of that, it was going to make it so his sub DPS side would be very, very good, or at least that's what it looked like on paper. A lot of us figured that with the recorded damage that you can possibly do, he could deal some crazy damage himself. Unfortunately, this was not the case. The man himself was very lackluster. He was not able to deal too much damage inside the game, and that has been kind of a common trend with sub DPSs. The next sub DPS that ended up coming out that was pretty decent actually ended up being a debuffer, and the only way how you can get at least Katayama over here as a sub DPS is if you ended up duping. So this one was more of one that was kind of there but also kind of not here. And what we mean by this is truly you weren't going to be doing that freaking sub DPS with her. In order to get this even unlocked, you needed her A6 here, which for an A6, it was pretty dang good. I'm not gonna lie to you. As a debuffer, she already had the kit that we needed, which was tons of debuff stats here, allowed us to knock down enemies easier. They took more damage taken quite easy. And then with the actual A6, she now could turn herself and not only into a debuff state, but to a point where she can deal some high key damage as well. She's getting this from her Burning Soul stack here, which ends up heavily buffing her, and this allows her to immediately increase her own attack, her crit rate, and her critical damage, as well as her highlight can now deal critical. This was all something that was a huge deal for at least anyone who decided to dupe her that far, and it really made her into a good character, especially if you were looking forward to the duping scene. That was going to be more of our actual, I want to say, our secondary follow-up character, or our secondary sub DPS character, but that's only if you really want to invest into that. So we already had one example of a character who could be A0 and try to be a sub DPS but utterly failed, and even at the A6 side he utterly failed in that one. Now we have a character who actually succeeded at the sub DPSing, but it was at a very high extent of an A6 dupe rate. So now we have Mitsuru coming in. Now if you guys have not seen my Mitsuru video, be sure to go ahead and check that out. It has everything you really need to know in it. But for Mitsuru, things are starting to look a little bit different here. What we know about this character is that she is a sub DPS character, but the difference with her is she just outright starts off as one. Just with her base amount of skills and what she can really do here, or from the sounds of it, she's going to be a sub DPS who has defense type aspects. She's already a single target DPS, so a lot of us expected her to at least deal some decent damage. But with how everything does look, especially with the teams that she's coordinated in, if you can see at the bottom right, she doesn't seem like she is the main attraction. In fact, it seems like that our man Makoto is more of the main attraction, and she's just going to be a bystander, being more of her own sub DPS role. The interesting thing about her here is with the damage that she deals, she can also decrease target defense here, making her more into that debuffer state. Now, if anyone knows what I've been thinking for the past few updates, I definitely have hope, at least with Mitsuru herself, that she would either be a buffer or either be a debuffer. Well, for following the couple trends that we've been getting on TW here recently, we've already had a single target DPS multiple times, we've had AoE DPS, we've had buffers, so I kind of expected her to be a debuffer, but the fact that she's a sub DPS is kind of weird as well. But don't get it twisted, with the skills that she does have, it sounds like she's going to be really good as well, because she not only can just decrease our defense, but she can increase damage taken, and then she actually has a buff that increases Navi. So she's a little bit of both of at least the best of both worlds. And it's kind of weird to say something like this because for P5X itself, it seems like they're trying to push more of that dual DPS aspect, right? We're trying to go into that realm of being able to use multiple DPSs, but this is the reason why I feel like it won't really work. Now, depending on, of course, how they do this with their stats, it could very well work. But just hear me out for a second. If we do continue pushing in this way of sub DPSing here, it's going to be kind of interesting for P5X as a whole, because currently our DPS slots or our team slots are usually having our main DPS, having the buffer, having a debuffer, and then going ahead and having our Navi, right? Or either it will be our main DPS having two buffers, and then of course one that acts as like a little bit of a debuffer, and then going ahead and still using our Navi. We don't really have a comp that needs a tank or really have a comp that needs a healer, because even with our healers, they still act as buffers. Much like Yukari here, they still act as buffers. But now we're trying to push into the realm of sub DPSs. The only way this can possibly end up working here is if one, the devs make the percentages a lot better. Where at least our man Akechi ended up falling off is one, he's bound to Almighty. Almighty, as good as it is, you still want to have some content for it that makes it really decent, but he can technically go anywhere. But two, it was mainly because of his percentages that really made him very lackluster. Due to not having the percentages that you needed, he was not doing more than a debuffer, so it kind of left him down in the dirt. Now, if he was able to have higher percentages and actually be able to prop off what he needs even more so, it could possibly be better. Just you have to hope that the debuffers that are possibly able to go and slot it on the team as their best in slots aren't going to be dealing so much to a point where the sub DPS is not going to be needed. If the sub DPS is just not needed, well then there's no reason for pulling the character, and you might as well just continue pulling with your debuffer. So if we're going to be looking at least Mitsuru here in the future, what we want to actually have here is a character who's able to then follow up as much as possible, do what she can do with her actual percentages, and take heavy advantage over this. If they do it well, then we'll see more DPSs, or at least sub DPSs inside of P5X as a whole, which won't be a bad idea. Just let me know down below in the comment section how y'all feel about this. Do you want to see more sub DPSs, or really do you don't want to see them at all? And do you think they will pull this one off? Personally, for me, I hope it goes well, because I would like to have our team comps a little bit more diverse, but hey, who knows about that one. Till next time, everybody, thank y'all for listening, and peace on out.